Thank you, Senate President. I want to begin because I rise with profound gratitude to you, sir, for allowing me to take on this responsibility of leading this effort through its next stage in our state's affordable housing journey. To me, the most crucial policy issue that sets the foundation for the success of our families, our communities, and our state is access to safe and affordable housing. When we talk about affordable housing, we're talking about people, real people, our friends, our neighbors, those who are working to make ends meet, parents who struggle to maintain stability for their kids, and seniors who need a home in their twilight years. Ensuring that families have a safe and affordable place to lay their heads at night essentially cements the cornerstone of the framework for other policy work we do here, whether it be healthcare, food access, education, and so much more.
Sorry, Senator Singleton. Close that door upstairs, please.
Without securing the most basic human needs, a place to live, the other policies we pass cannot be as effective. Today, I'm grateful we're collectively poised to take an important and indeed monumental step in ensuring that the best parts of our affordable housing system are set in statute and remain effective and efficient for families today and generations to come. Against that backdrop, I have to begin by thanking the incredible Senate Majority Office team who walked every step on this journey with me. From our Executive Director, Tim Lydon, our Deputy Executive Director, Rose Farris, our Chief Counsel, Abby Harris, and most importantly, and could not have done this without him, the amazingly talented David Smith from our research team. I would also like to thank Chris Jewett from the Office of Legislative Services, whose work has been instrumental in bringing us to this point. And to those who spent countless hours over the last several months and more giving us their input, criticism, suggestions, and reasoned debate, I thank you. Your passion around this issue forced me to re-examine some positions and frankly help us drastically improve this bill from where it began to where we are now. And I commit to you that the imprint in some form or fashion of that input from every source and person we talk to is reflective in some fashion in this bill today. And today we are at a critical point with respect to the ongoing housing affordability crisis we face in our state and in our nation. We face a somewhat perfect storm of low housing inventory and escalating pricing, which leaves thousands of working families all across our state with no viable options. There are many numbers that tell this story, but they're just numbers on a piece of paper. The data is reflective of real people in every one of our legislative districts, for whom the promise of affordable housing, allowing them to live out their own version of the American dream, is not just a dream deferred, but frankly, it's a dream denied. People like Wanda from Princeton, 58-year-old mother, grandmother, who's worked for 20 years for New Jersey Turnpike Authority, but has never been able to make a down payment on a home in her life. In 2022, with the help of Habitat for Humanity, she got her dream home through an affordable housing program. Or a gentleman named Jacob from Warren County, who's a single father of 3 young boys. He's about to be a proud homeowner thanks to a partnership with Northwest Cap and Warren County's Habitat for Humanity. He's moving into a 3-bedroom home in Phillipsburg, and his kids can't wait to get their own backyard. Courtney from Bordentown, who's lived this journey as well. LW from Somerset County, a domestic violence survivor who had to leave a traumatic situation with nothing. But through her work with a certified HUD housing counseling agency, she's on track to improve her credit score and eventually find a safe and affordable home of her own in Somerset County. These stories and countless others are those of our families, our neighbors, and our friends, and fellow taxpayers who seek the same opportunities to live throughout this state that we all cherish. Frankly, I don't have to remind anyone in this chamber of the numerous calls that we all receive from our constituents, the ones we are privileged to represent, who are desperate for a place to live. And that often we are limited in our assistance because there are simply no affordable options. And that all of these working people, people who help care for our community, we have nothing to give them. Even some of the very people who work in our offices, the staff that we rely on, find themselves in these positions. No affordable options, no opportunity to create generational wealth for their families. And this brings us to the change we're about to embark on today. The Mount Laurel Doctrine is a constitutional obligation that requires New Jersey to provide for their fair share of affordable housing. Since 1975, since that time, various oversight and enforcement mechanisms have been tested and tried, including the Executive Branch's Council on Affordable Housing, which was established in 1985. And after 15 years of non-enforcement of the Mount Laurel Doctrine, due to the inaction of COA and those who sought to politicize its mission, the New Jersey Supreme Court ruled in Mount Laurel 4 that the judicial system will once again be responsible for ensuring compliance with the doctrine and ensuring New Jersey's constitutional right. Removing COA from the equation and reinstituting the role of the courts in this constitutional issue led to the creation of 70,000 new multiple family units and 21,000 deed-restricted affordable homes in the last 8 years alone. To put that in context, since 2015, the pace of affordable housing production has nearly doubled that of the prior 15 years. And even with that incredible progress, we are still 224,000 housing units in a deficit, which, as I stated earlier, drives up costs dramatically, perpetuates historical patterns of inequality and segregation, the effects of which are not just isolated in housing, but they are felt in our educational system, in our labor market, and our overall economy. With the new round coming upon us beginning in July of 2025, there is a need to provide clarity for municipalities, reduce legal conflicts, costs, and set clear timelines to ensure that this round can deliver affordable housing opportunities as quickly as possible. S50 aims to preserve the most successful elements from the period of judicial enforcement, such as the universally accepted methodology for calculating the affordable housing need, while giving towns clear guidance and providing mediation opportunities between municipalities and housing advocates. Now, there are some who seek to perpetuate some semblance of misinformation around what this bill does and doesn't do. So I will dispel some of the common criticisms we have heard. The methodology that I spoke of comes from the Jacobson methodology, developed by a well-respected judge as a middle ground between towns and advocates and developers after an extensive trial in 2018. After this decision was issued, even though other courts and towns did not have to use the calculation method, essentially every judge in every municipality accepted it. Since its inception, there have been 0 challenges or litigations about this methodology. The cornerstone of this bill, there's been 0 challenges about the basis on which the framework of that methodology and this bill are girded. Prior to that decision, everyone in here knows what that world was like. Hundreds of towns engaged in litigation over methodology, the location of affordable housing units every single year. The methodology focused affordable housing needs in accordance with the state plan and where jobs are located. This helps affordable housing's focus, ensure its focus near transit and jobs, and that it avoids environmentally sensitive areas. The methodology developed by Judge Jacobson, codified in this bill, makes it exponentially easier for towns to figure out what their numbers are. Under the current system, towns have to hire their own experts to calculate the numbers. Now the Department of Community Affairs will calculate the numbers using the same framework and methodology that has been used for the last 8 years. Town can either choose to accept it or come up with their own consistent with the standards in this bill based on that methodology. This bill requires DCA to have the numbers by October and to use updated data on environmental constraints, job growth, and other objective standards to calculate a fair number for every town. I've heard and people have talked about, well, Troy, this will lead to an increase in property taxes. So I talked to you about Mount Laurel, where this case was born. I have the honor and privilege of representing Mount Laurel today. The residents in the community surrounding Mount Laurel developments have continued to experience stable taxes. In fact, a study by Princeton University researchers found no difference in property taxes between Mount Laurel after it built affordable housing and its surrounding communities. Adding new taxpayers to a municipality can lead to long-term increases in revenue, including through helping supporting existing and new downtown businesses. The policies of this bill emphasize redevelopment of underutilized properties. In many towns across New Jersey, there are existing developed properties that remain vacant and underutilized, with the owners of those properties filing tax appeals year after year. This bill would encourage redevelopment of those sites into tax-productive developments. In conclusion, the reforms embodied in S50 are intended to provide clear, specific statutory guidance to ensure that the enforcement of and compliance with the Mount Laurel Doctrine will keep in place the best parts of the most successful affordable housing system that has been utilized in New Jersey for over 8 years. But more importantly, everyone wins when our neighbors have an affordable place to live. The creation of affordable housing creates construction jobs and stimulates economic growth. Manageable rents allows working families to have more flexibility and more resources for better food and better health care, no longer straining other systems. Housing stability removes barriers to getting better education and work opportunities. Integrated, affordable housing builds stronger communities and connections while alleviating the burden on social services. And most of all, this next generation will grow up in a stable home and safe environments. S50 puts us on a pathway to even more success in the next round of affordable housing obligation, making housing more affordable and more attainable, frankly, for more New Jerseyans. Senate President, I thank you for the honor of being the sponsor of this legislation, and I thank you to each and every one of you, whether you vote for this or not. We will still all have to deal with the repercussions of our affordable housing obligation in this state. I hope you will find it in your wisdom to be supportive of this, but if not, our journey still will continue whether we do something here today or not, because the next round begins in July of 2025. I would rather us have a blueprint for success than go to a chaotic maelstrom that could come. Thank you, Senate President.